There you are. Welcome to Zen Fits here in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world. But then you too are at the center of the world. Now I'm going to just leap into it this morning. My first comment on Facebook was about Bodhisattvas. And so the title of this talk is, There Are No Bodhisattvas. There are no Bodhisattvas. What does that mean? So let's pull this cotton ball apart. You know, when a cotton ball is seeds, I can feel this seed in here. No wonder. I mean, I want to digress. The cotton gin took the seed out, so you didn't need to have slaves pulling the seed out. The cotton gin did it, which meant you could grow more cotton and have more slaves. But in the cotton ball, if you've never seen one, there are sharp thorns here. So this cotton ball is like a rose. If you want to get the seed out, you got to get by the thorns, and there may be some blood on the snow. There may be some blood on the cotton if you try to get that seed out, you see. Very metaphorical. Anyway, blood on the snow. So what, see if I could pull this back. There are no bodhisattvas. Now, if you're familiar with Zen at all, Zen Buddhism, there are the Bodhisattva Vows, which every Zen monastery chants. This is like the Nicene Creed of Christianity, where you go to any church service and they chant and sing or say the vow, the Nicene Creed. I believe, yada, yada, yada. But the Bodhisattva vows are not a belief. Yet they're chanted in every Zen center. And in fact, the Bodhisattva came into being around the time of Christ in Buddhism, because you know Buddhism was already 500 years old at the time of Christ. And it had already become kind of institutionalized. Buddhism had kind of become just repeating the sutras, just reading the scripture, just saying the words. It became kind of like, and it was very monastic. You had to become a monk in order to become a Buddhist. If you were married, had a job, you were a lay person. You had no membership. So it was a monastic tradition. And then came, around the time of Christ, in both Christianity, or not, in Judaism with Jesus, and this is in the Middle East, where Buddhism had been sending missionaries. So you had this awakening around at the time of Christ in both Buddhism and in the Middle East, which was at that time been dominated by Greek reason and Paul. Anyway, I'm getting away from this. I don't know. We'll see where we're going. So there was this awakening in both Buddhism and Judaism, or in the Middle East, of Christianity, and the idea of compassion. Compassion. So the Bodhisattva is the awakening of compassion, and Jesus is the awakening of compassion. And when the Catholic Church got hold of this, compassion began to be represented by the Virgin Mary. So in Catholicism, through the Middle Ages, the Virgin Mary was bigger than Jesus. All these Gothic temples, they're all the Virgin Mary. You know, the entrance is a big vagina. The mother came back. Compassion. Mother means compassion. Father means judgment. Mother loves all her children, no matter what they do. Father says, oh, you got to measure up, kid. You know, you got to, you know. So anyway, these two elements that compassion is always feminine. So the Bodhisattva vow is all sentient beings I vow to liberate. Just think about that. All sentient beings means ants, fleas, dogs, elephants, humans. All. I don't discriminate. It's like the mother saying, all my children, all my children, I vow to liberate. Now this is mission impossible. Oh, and the other three, if I can remember them, passion, oh shit. All passion, I vow, all passions without number, I vow to uproot. And dharma gates, without measure, I vow to penetrate. And the fourth one is the great way of the great way of the Buddha, I vow to attain. So there's 4 vows, and they're all impossible. They're all in mission impossible. Thank you, Tom Cruise. So the whole idea of the Bodhisattva is that it's impossible. Now that doesn't make sense. Why would I vow to do something that's impossible? So let's look at this first one. All sentient beings I vow to liberate, or awaken, or arouse, you see. Now obviously this is the logic of this, the viewpoint. The viewpoint of this is from our human modern viewpoint. The world is full of sentient beings. How can I, an individual, awaken all these sentient beings? I can't even awaken one person. Not alone all of them, you see. So this is totally absurd. And yet it's chanted every morning in all the Zen centers. It's the Nicene Creed of Buddhism, Zen Buddhism. So let's dig a little deeper. And we have to, that's what a Zen fit is. A Zen fit, which is my talks, is something doesn't fit. We just say this crap, this stuff, and it doesn't make sense. So let's pull the cotton ball apart a little bit. Pull it apart a little bit. That's the point. Damn the thorns. Full cotton ahead. Okay. So, all sentient beings I vow. Well, first of all, there's I. I vow to liberate. Well, that's an assumption right there. That I am a separate being. Once you see, if you have that, I am going, through my willpower, I'm going to liberate all beings, you see. What's the assumption here? Well, the assumption is that I am a separate being among many. All the beings in the world, there is I, and I'm separate from all them. I'm not an ant, I'm not a flea, I'm not a dog, you see. I'm not other human beings. I'm separate. And I have personal willpower. This is the basic assumption of the Western mind. This is the viewpoint, the cosmic viewpoint of the Western mind that has created all of our comforts and all of our civilization. But this viewpoint was really born and took effect in the 16th century. So it's been the birth, the modern mind that has changed the universe, the planet, is the birth of a viewpoint that I am separate from the world like a mechanic, and I can fix this damn thing by understanding the laws of the machine. So the mechanic of cars can fix cars because he understands the laws of cars. But the mechanic is outside of the car in order for this to work. Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Riding got into this because it separated the riding of the motorcycle from the mechanic of the motorcycle as two viewpoints or two ways of looking at the motorcycle. The mechanic looks at the motorcycle as a system of laws, so you can fix the machine, so you can enjoy riding the machine. But when you're riding the motorcycle, you're in a different state of mind than the mechanic who is outside. When you ride the motorcycle, you are the motorcycle. You are the motorcycle, the road, the rider, the scenery, the whole thing. You're all of it. But then if it breaks down, you got to switch modes, and now you are standing outside of the motorcycle. What do I need to do here? Now you're a mechanic. So you got two viewpoints here. The view of the mechanic, and the mechanic gets this vow and says, all sentient beings, or, to put it in the words of a mechanic, all engines I vow to fix. What the fuck? All engines in the world I vow to fix. Well, that's impossible. But when understood from the joy of riding the motorcycle, there is no mechanic. When you are riding the motorcycle, you are the motorcycle, the road and the scenery and the joy and the risk. We love riding motorcycles. I used to have one because it makes you absolutely present. You can't be thinking about your taxes when you're riding a motorcycle. You have to be the motorcycle, not the mechanic who is outside of the motorcycle. How do you fix this thing, you see? If you start thinking about trying to fix the motorcycle while you're riding the motorcycle, you're probably going to run off the road. So these are two ways of being, or two ways of knowing, the mechanic and the rider, you see. And many riders don't know how to fix the mechanic, but most do. Fix the bike, most. But that's not the point here. The point is we're trying to see two vows. A vow is I vow to look at the world in a different way. So the Bodhisattva vow is the vow that triggers the shift from being a mechanic to being a rider. When you are a rider, you are the bike, you are the world, you're all of it. There's no separation. That's why we love riding motorcycles, because it makes us one with the road and the machine. And you feel that you can do no wrong. You feel at one with everything. That's why people go get on a motorcycle to shake off the worries of the world, to shake off the troubles, to shake off the impossibility that confront us with the world, you see. So the Bodhisattva vow is a shift in viewpoint. It's not a vow. It's not the vow of the mechanic that he vows to fix all the engines in the world, or he vows to awaken or enlighten all sentient beings, ants, fleas, and dogs, you see. That's absurd. So the Bodhisattva vow, because it's absurd, and yet it's like you have to chant it. It's real. You have to, it's like the Nicene Creed. I mean, you may not understand it, but you got to do it if you're going to be a member in the church, you see. So the Bodhisattva vow is basically Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise taught me this. If you look at Mission Impossible, I love Mission Impossible because it's a Bodhisattva vow. So Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible, first of all, he's got a mission, right? And he's chosen, he's got a mission. You can do it or not, and he chooses to do it. So he's got a mission. You're going to do this and that and that. And everyone else thinks it's impossible, but I'm going to give it to you. And he says, okay, let's do it. So he's got a plan. that where he's going to do something, or his crew. They got a plan, they got a strategy, but there always comes a point in the movie or in the unfolding of this story where all the plans, all the vows, all the experience, all the strategies all break down. Everything collapses. And now our hero, Tom Cruise, hits the Bodhisattva vow. Instead of he shifts from being a mechanic who's going to have a plan to get the treasure back or whatever, or a plan to defeat the evil. You see, he's got a plan. He's got a way. He's got the technique. He's got the system. It's all set to go. It all collapses. And now there's a shift from viewpoints, from being the mechanic who is outside of the situation in a plan, exercising a plan, to being in free fall. Now he's in free fall. There is no plan. He has to wing it. So there's a shift in the way of knowing in Mission Impossible. In the same way there is a shift in knowing in Buddhism, from Buddhism, the old Buddhism, 500-year-old Buddhism, where you got the sutras, you got the eightfold steps, you got the means, or you meditate, you do this, or yoga is the same. You got the means, and if you do the means, you're going to get to the end, which will be the cessation of suffering. Or in Christianity, the kingdom of God, you see. So it's all got an end, but you got to do the shit before you get to it. So the means to the end. But Zen, and not just Zen, but other mystical traditions, Sufism, Kashmir Shaivism and yoga, there's other traditions. But Zen brings you to the point where this is impossible. It's not working. Now what am I going to do? Well, there's a shift in viewpoint from I'm going to fix the world. I'm going to awaken all sentient beings. I'm going to be a savior. I'm going to go on Facebook and save everybody. You see, I'm going to be a bodhisattva. Then you come to a point, well, bullshit. You can't do it. You can't do it. Can't save yourself. Can't save anybody. You can't be a bodhisattva. When you come to that. Really, when you really come to it through and through, but you don't leave it, you kind of like sit in it, not knowing what to do. You sit in the not knowing. You sit in the helplessness. You sit in the surrender. You sit like a mouse looking at a mouse hole. You sit like you are at an airport when you're waiting for your beloved to come. You're waiting. And you're all attentive. You're not doing anything. You're just looking. Is that her? Is that her? Is that her? Is that her? And then when you see one little sign, maybe a hat that's familiar. There she is. There she is. And you are one with that. And you go rushing and you're one, you see. So what is that beloved that we're all waiting to see, you see? What is that, you see? We wait. We don't leave and say, oh, fuck this, I'm going home. Never wanted to see her anyway. No. So that we at the moment where there's a shift, we are in active waiting. We're not passively waiting like, oh, I'll wait for Jesus, or I'll wait for a Buddha, or I'll wait for a therapist or whatever, or I'll wait for the medication to work. So there's an active passivity here, an active surrender. And it is in that not knowing, in that surrender, that the Bodhisattva is aroused. Now the Bodhisattva that is aroused is not the mechanic, but it's the rider of the motorcycle. The Bodhisattva is life. The Bodhisattva is riding life, is one with life, is one with all sentient beings. So if you're one with all sentient beings, but you're still there. If you're one with all sentient beings, what is there to save? You see. And this was Buddha's awakening as a bodhisattva. When Buddha sat under the bo tree, he gave up all the disciplines, the meat eating, and all the disciplines, the yoga, all the do nots and all of the shouts and all of that. He gave it up and just sat in an aroused awareness, a curiosity. He just sat. And the Buddha was awakened, and the Buddha said, throughout earth and heaven, I alone am the honored one. So that's what the motorcycle rider says. I alone am the honored one. When I'm riding the motorcycle, the world, the motorcycle, the road, everybody, I am that. I'm one with it all. And this doesn't have to be a motorcycle ride. It can be sex. Good sex. So okay, so there are no bodhisattvas, because when the bodhisattva is aroused, everyone's a bodhisattva. Where can you go that a bodhisattva is not? When you're on a motorcycle, where can you go that you are not? You ride here, you ride there, you're one with it all. And you're very present because death is present. That's what makes motorcycle riding so enlivening, because you're close to the road. And if you let your mind become a mechanic and start trying to figure out how to fix everybody or fix your life or fix your problem, if your mind strays into that, you crash. So look at it from that point of view, is that arousing the bodhisattva is arousing a different way of looking at yourself and your life. From that of a mechanic to the joy of riding a motorcycle or riding life. Thanks for dropping in.